to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Dream 100 Show. My guest for today is Carla Williams Johnson, and she hails from Trinidad and Tobago and has just this really amazing background in all things PR in her PR firm, Carla Communications. So, Carla, welcome to the Dream 100 Show.
Thank you so very much for having me. Hello from Trinidad and Tobago, from the Caribbean.
So I would love to start, just tell our listeners just a little bit more about your background. So, I mean, a lot of the people that we have on the show, they're largely based in the U.S. and maybe a few from Europe, but I love that you're down in the Caribbean, and I just would love to hear a little bit more about your story of kind of growing and persevering and building the business that you have.
Oh my God, where do I begin? So coming from the Caribbean, we do follow a lot what goes on in the U.S., what goes on in the UK, as you mentioned. So for a very long time, if you were a business person in the Caribbean, you were very limited by what you could do or what you felt that you could do, right? We have this whole island mentality, this whole island life, the way how we do things. People know us for a carnival and those types of things. But when it came to business and building a business, we were very limited in what we could have known, what we could have done, or what was in front of us. And I made it my life mission. I said, you know what? If it is that, we have so much knowledge, we have so much experience, we have so much talented people right here, why can't we go global? Why can't other people know about the great things that we do here? So I decided to become a publicist. I've worked in advertising my whole life. I've worked with some major brands, Coca-Cola, Unilever, you name it. I worked on that account, and I took my knowledge from helping those accounts build their visibility, their credibility, and I tailored it to the Caribbean entrepreneurs, the Caribbean CEOs, helping them understand this is how you put yourself out there. This is how you show up to a different audience. This is how you show up to a different culture, all while being yourself, all while not losing your authenticity. Because one of the things I realized as I was going in my business is people love us, right? They love our accent, they love our life. A lot of people have come into the Caribbean on their bucket list, right? And we live this every day. So once you are yourself and you be yourself, you're authentic, and you just put that out there, if more people want to know you, work with you, and pay for how you do it.
So with the Dream 100, we're going after and we're seeking to build relationships. We're seeking to accelerate people that most likely don't even know who we are to, hey, let's do some deals together. Let's find some ways to work together. And I know that you just touched on it. You talked about kind of being yourself and being authentic. What are maybe a couple of tips that you would have if an entrepreneur is struggling with either finding their voice? I mean, I could even argue that there's many times when I jump in a couple of different pools and I'm like, am I really being authentic here? Or is it more here? Or is it something I haven't even thought of? Give us some tips or some ways that you kind of would coach someone around kind of being more authentic and finding their true voice.
Well, the one question I always ask my clients, or anyone that comes to me, is what do you want to be known for? At the end of the day, after the podcast, after the interview, after your social media post, like, what do you want to be known for? What is the goal? What is the legacy that you want to leave, right? What is the platform that you want to stand on? And that kind of shapes everything. We call it being purpose-driven, being purpose-led. Like, that is really going to shape what it is that you want people to find out about you. That's going to shape the things that you're going to talk about. That's going to shape the things that you're passionate about, what you want to be an advocate for. So it really starts from there. What do you want to be known for? For me specifically, I'll use myself as an example. I want to be known as the person who carved the way for Caribbean entrepreneurs to be seen globally. That's my legacy. and I've made that my life work. Somebody else they want to be known as an advocate for persons who suffer with, mental health and mental health awareness. Somebody else may want to focus on women who are oppressed or women of color. It really does depend on what it is that you want to be known for. What is your purpose? What are the values that you hold near and dear to you? Once you have established that, then you know what platforms you need to show up on. You need to know who you need to talk to. You need to know what causes you need to be involved in. That tells you what organizations you need to join or volunteer at. Because everything is going to lead from there, and everything is going to be authentic, and people will gravitate to you. One of the things I've realized with public relations is that we tend to hide. We tend to not want to show ourselves, or we tend to not want to speak. But it's in speaking, it's in showing ourselves, it's in showing up that people know who we are and what we stand for. And that's how we build community. And as you mentioned before, real relationships. Once people know what it is that you stand for, then they can come to you and you all can build something to help others.
It sounds like such a simple point of figuring out, like, what do you want to be known for? But to your point, I think a lot of people, as you said, they hide, or they're just not true to that. And I would assume that when I look at trying to build those relationships, it's going to be pretty clear if you want to stand for one thing and then you're at an event that is the complete opposite or something else. So you're going to kind of stick out like a sore thumb and not really be able to pave that way.
Not only would you stick out, you feel so uncomfortable though. If you're in a space where it's not aligned with your values, or even if you're in a conversation, even if it's not a lot of people and it's just like a one-on-one conversation, but you're in that energy, that space where nothing is aligned, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to want to shrink. You're not going to want to speak up. So you have to find your people. You have to find your space. You have to find your platform. Because what I have realized is that once people feel comfortable, they can talk for hours about what it is that they want to do, what makes them happy, what they do on a daily basis. Once it's something that they love and they feel comfortable, they can talk forever about it. That's what you need to find. What is your space that could make you not shut up about what it is?
I love it. So if I pivot a little bit, your background in a lot of what you do is helping entrepreneurs land and start to have kind of really good press written about them. And I know you've been in Forbes a couple of times, among dozens and dozens of other places. What is your thought process around, and it's a little bit of a loaded question, and it's I guess comes back to, the benefit of PR, but what are some of the other ancillary benefits that maybe an entrepreneur might not think about? So like, okay, great. Carla was able to help me get it into Forbes, and I can print this out and show people and tell people. But what are some of the other benefits that maybe as entrepreneurs don't necessarily think about that we're also going to end up getting as a direct or indirect benefit of some of the PR?
So I like to look at publicity and PR as the long game. It's long term, right? I tell my clients all the time, Beyonce did not wake up as Beyonce, right? Beyonce did not wake up this morning and decide she's going to do an entire album, renaissance, whatever it is. She started way back when. And it was the places that she was in, the people that she met, and the publicity that she got that shaped who she is now and continue to shape it and build her community and all of these different things. And it's the same with PR for business, right? You will get the interviews with folks, the entrepreneur, and all these wonderful podcasts and interviews, right? But it's how you leverage the interview. So one of the things I tell them is simply put it on your social media that you've been featured, put it on your website, because once people see that third-party endorsement, when people see that you've gotten the accolades from all of these high-profile international publications, people look at you different. They see you different. It's in a different light. They see you in a different light. Another thing is that I realize that people who get interviews and who are featured are typically about 20 to 30% in terms of closing deals, 20 to 30% quicker in landing sponsorships, landing investors, getting new clients. Because again, that third-party endorsement is Right, but anyone with a device and an internet connection can call themselves an expert. But when you have these television programs and these radio programs and these podcasts calling you an expert in your own right, it does something to you. It really showcases you very, very differently. Another major benefit is it elevates to thought leadership. It elevates to what influencer status. Because we have a lot of people calling themselves thought leaders or calling themselves influencers. But let me tell you, you cannot call yourself that. Other people have to call you that. That's how you know you elevated. And that's what publicity does. You're automatically seen as a leader amongst your people, right? So again, it's not something that's going to happen within the interview today and by tomorrow, oh my goodness. But over time, constantly just putting yourself out there and getting those constant accolades and endorsements really does help elevate you over time to a status. And it happens so, what's the word? It happens so subtly that you don't even realize. To the point where now if I'm walking down the street on the very few occasions that I leave my house when I'm walking down the street, people wave to me, I do not know who these people are. And they're like, hey Carly, because they know me from online and they've seen me all the time. That's the power of public relations. People feel like they know you.
I mean, there were a lot of gems that you said there. I mean, to me, one of the biggest is people need to understand, and I talk about this time and time again on each of the Dream 100 episodes, that they have to play the long game. Like you're not just going to magically be in Forbes or Entrepreneur or Success and overnight. And it takes a lot of work to make this happen. But then it, as you said, it starts to stack and it helps escalate deals to close faster and investors. And there's all those other benefits. Mm-hmm. If I was an entrepreneur and I was just starting out, and let's say that I didn't have the resources to hire somebody like you or they could, what are maybe some of the starting points that you would kind of work with them on from a PR standpoint? Is it going back to, hey, before we can even start, you really need to be crystal clear on who you want to serve and the impact you want to make? Do you, hey, give us your ideal places that you think you want to be featured? How do you, I guess, approach it and then take that first step or second step?
Well, it's a mix of all of that, right? Some people, they're not very clear on what their message is. But once I get an idea of who they want to serve, when they get an idea of the type of publications that they're interested in, it kind of gives me an idea of what they're trying to say. And one of the things that I do for my clients is that I work out their messaging for them. You know, they're so caught up in the things that they do that they don't have time to dig deep and really think about, okay, what is it that I'm trying to communicate? So that's something that I do for them. But if you're just starting out, I would strongly recommend that you take a few minutes in your quiet time. I also work with some women entrepreneurs here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I always tell them, it's like, have a meeting of one, right? Have that meeting of one, that CEO board meeting of one, where you're not distracted, you're not trying to multitask, and really think about these important things. What are the goals you're trying to set? What are you trying to communicate? What is the direction you're trying to go? Who do you want to talk to? And when you talk to them, what do you want them to walk away with? Once you have those questions answered, then it will tell you, okay, this is where I need to show up, or these are the things that I need to talk about, or these are the type of publications that I need to be in. Because sometimes in conveying your messaging, it might be better as a written piece over audio piece. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to say. And then once you're clear on that, then just pitch. Just pitch. Call up the editor, call up the journalist, say, hey, my name is, I have this to say, and this is why I think your audience needs to hear it. Remember, when you're talking to the journalist or you're talking to the press, it's not about you, it's about their audience and how what you're doing or what you're saying can serve their people. Because pretty soon, their people will be your people, right? So once you send out those pictures, who you are, what you do, and what are you going to say to them that is going to be of benefit to them, right? I would also recommend that whatever you are talking about, make it timely. Timeliness is everything. I used to tell my students way back when COVID was a thing, everything COVID related was a top story, whether it was COVID and relationships, COVID and money, COVID and childcare, whatever it was. Once there was a COVID spin to it, people would be interested in hearing it. So now you have to figure out what are people listening to, what are people gravitating to, what are the conversations that are happening that you can get involved in, right? So that when you do your pitching, the media will be like, oh my God, yes, this person's an expert. We definitely will consider that.
Is there any particular tool or tools that, Google Trends comes to mind, but is there any easy, and I know easy is relative, but let's say that they're an entrepreneur and we'll say they're in the finance space, they're a financial advisor, for example. Are there any tools that you would recommend they use to kind of keep a good pulse on that timeliness stuff? I feel like a lot of times I'll see something and I missed the party by a couple of weeks or a month because I wasn't like in the weeds at that time, and I maybe put it on like a list and I looked at it before it was too late.
So I'm very happy that you asked that question. So there is something called a publicity calendar. A publicity calendar helps you stay on track of what is timely and what is relevant in terms of special dates and occasions. So, for example, April is Financial Literacy Month. It's also Sex Awareness Month. May is Female Founders Month. June, Men's Health Month. Once you know those things beforehand and you know what your messaging is and what your platform is, you can definitely start planning way ahead. So that's one way to stay on top of the pulse of things, having a publicity calendar. Now, you can Google this if you'd like. There are a lot of online spaces, I believe, timeanddate.com, calendar.com. There are different websites that you can go to that can give you that information, or you can actually purchase a publicity calendar. I actually have a calendar that I have specifically for business owners and CEOs that has not just the special dates and occasions by month, but also how to use it, like prompts and ideas and content pieces that you can literally just copy paste and you can use it for your social media, you can use it for your blog. But I would strongly suggest that you invest in a publicity calendar. In addition to that, pay attention to what's going on in news, as we mentioned. Google what's happening. Pay attention to local news as well. We completely disregard local news. We think it's too small. Trust me, when you're building a business, publicity is too small, right? So look at what's going on locally. What can you speak out against? What is violating your values? What is stressing you out? What can you be a voice for in terms of what it is that you stand for? Can you be an advocate for your people, right? And last but not least, there's let's say you have nothing going on in your business. Let's say that there's nothing timely that you can jump on. Let's just say you don't have an event that you want to promote but you want to get yourself out there. I would strongly recommend that you tell your story, right? Media is always looking for feel-good stories. Media is always looking for people who have overcome different things. I always tell people no one cares about Carla Williams Johnson, the CEO publicist. What they care about is the things that people told me. They care about the hurdles that I had to jump over and all the things that I had to go through to become who I am today, right? So be sure to always tell your story, share your story. A lot of us, we have many stories. We have many. Share them. That is a real way to connect with people and make those deeper connections and form those relationships.
Lots of really good one-liners there, and one that you said a couple of minutes ago that I really liked, and I've never heard it said this way, is to have a boardroom for one or CEO meeting for one. And I think that's just such an important concept. We often don't do it. And we just, you get quote unquote busy with life and business and you don't take time so I think that's a really great takeaway. And another phrase that you said that I think a lot of people think they need to have that slam dunk press that, if I'm not in Forbes, like nothing else matters. But as you said, it doesn't matter how small it is. And I think a lot of people feel like they have to get famous just because of the culture that we're in with celebrity and clout and influencers. But in reality, even being in a small local blog could generate just as much business, for example. And so I think that's a really great takeaway. And finally, just the piece of just telling your story. We're a story driven culture. Lots of really great takeaways for our listeners there. I always like to ask as my last question, how do you want to be remembered? And you wrote a lot of really great stuff when in the pre-show form. So I'd love you to kind of tell our listeners if we're looking back 50 years, 100 years, I mean, how do you want to be remembered?
I really want to be remembered as the person that paved the way for my people to succeed. As I mentioned before, we grew up in a culture where being seen, heard, and paid on a global stage was not something that could happen. We are held back by our mental borders. We're held back by our physical borders. We see abroad, foreign, as this thing that is bigger and or better than us. When really and truly, it's our own insecurities that are playing on us. It's our own case. And I went through it too. I mean, I'm not immune. I was told I was not going to make it. I was told that I was in the wrong profession. I was told that I was the wrong gender. I was the wrong color. There was no way that I was going to succeed. I was told that. And I said, I'm going to do this thing, even if I have to do it scared. And I've won so many awards. I've been in Forbes twice, as you mentioned. I mean, if you had asked me 3-4 years ago if Forbes would have been in my future, I would have been like, no, that's never going to happen. But it has. And not only has it happened for me, it has happened for the clients that I've worked with. The publications that they were able to get into, the book deals that they were able to collab on, the clients. I mean, so many of them with speaking ideas, stages that has happened for them that is indeed possible. And I don't want to sound cliche, but you have to believe in yourself, and that's the only way that you're going to succeed and really build globally recognized, profitable, and successful brand. And I want to be seen as the person that has held the hand of many to achieve such a phenomena. Because it's rough out here, it's tiring, it's stressful. It's rough. But I want to be able to be the one to say, listen, I held your hand, I held the path, take it, you can do it.
I love it. And I can't underestimate it enough, the power of believing in yourself. And I know you said that it is as cliche as it sounds. And while all of us have heard it, I just did another podcast episode for a different show that I run, and it was around mindset and that exact topic. I was at a conference last week in Austin, Texas, and speaker after speaker, widely successful people, big exits, hundreds of millions of dollars. And they kept talking about the belief in themselves. So great point to hit home. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you?
Oh, definitely. You can check me out on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Carly Communication, CARLI Communication. Or you can check me on my website at carlymedia.com. That's CARLI media.com.
Perfect. Well, I greatly appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and some tips for our audience, and appreciate everything, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day as well.